I'm making another video. Now I know that the previous video on this channel was just a HomeLab video or a showcase of my HomeLab, and I just wanted to do it again because a lot of things have changed and that video was a bit crap. So I just want to talk about it again and show you guys around. It's grown a little bit, to say the least. First, we'll start off with this. This is a 12U rack from Stalflex. It's actually meant for a wall, so it has little. It's meant to be wall mounted, so it has like that little bit there where you can then put screws in to stick it onto a wall. But I'm obviously keeping it on my floor because I don't want it on my wall. At the top, we have my router. So this is running pfSense, and it's also got Snort because I wanted to experiment with that, and this has additional package you can get. Perfect place to try it. And I'm also using HA proxy to give my servers, that and other stuff, a resolvable DNS name. So then rather than type the IP in, I can just put the name in instead. It's very good. It works very well. I haven't had any issues with the router itself so far anyway. It's got 8 gigs of RAM and a 128 gig SSD in it, just basic stuff. And I think it's running an N100 as well. It's got 4 Intel i226 NICs, I think. And I know they're 2.5 gig NICs, but which ones? I don't remember. There's one of those N100 PCs you can get from AliExpress. I've been running this for quite a long time now, and I don't see any reason to replace it, so it stayed. Next to that, over here is my Pi-hole DNS server, or one of them at least. So this one is running on a Orange Pi 02, I think it is.
Yes!
And it's been working pretty well. It is just running with micro SD, so who knows how long it'll last. But so far it's been quite solid. Just got like a PoE splitter so that, you know, I don't have to have multiple cables going from this because one is enough. And the switch itself is an SG500. This is a 28 port switch with 24 ports that are gigabit and PoE capable. And then it's got two 5 gig ports that are on the right and two 1 gig SFP ports that are also linked to these RJ45 ports as well. You can use them interchangeably. Those aren't PoE powered, those are just for uplink and whatnot. The switch also has two Noctua fans in it. So you see how this light is flashing? It's not meant to be doing that. But because I swapped the fans, it thinks that the fans aren't running at the right RPM. So it's just been filling the logs with junk. And I don't know how to fix that because I couldn't see a setting in the Cisco panel to actually change the threshold. Maybe I'm just blind, but other than that, this has been a really good switch. I managed to get this switch and this switch for free because they were both being decommissioned and were literally going to be thrown in a skip. So I thought, might as well take them. And, well, the other one isn't being used, but this one is definitely being used. All the cables go into my overpassing. You know, you need to have an overpassing in your network rack if you want to do it right. None of those patch panels overpassing. That is what you need. This here is another little PoE device, and is actually a mini NAS. So this used to be an iOmega NAS that had a 1TB hard drive and really was nothing special, but the drive was dead. So I thought, what if I just take everything out and put my own stuff in it, which is exactly what I did. So in here is an Orange Pi 3 LTS with a 500 gig SSD, and I created all of the parts myself, designed them, printed them to hold them in here, printed this backplate off myself. Ignore this, this was a mess. I could have done this so much better, but at that point I couldn't be bothered. And it has honestly just been working, whizzing away just fine since. It is also using one of those PoE adapters that they're gigabit capable. They just got them off AliExpress and haven't had any issues. I'm just using this as a little backup server for some more crucial files, I guess, and it does the job. This switch is an SF350 24 port. This is 24 ports of PoE goodness, but this time at 100 meg instead of at gigabit speeds. So it's not as fast. This would actually be a good switch for a big Cameron network, which who knows, I might use this exactly for that in the future, because right now it's not even being powered because I have no reason to use this at the minute. Maybe I'll use it to learn some Cisco stuff, but I have this one to do that, so this one just sits here. Moving on, we have three of the more meaty parts of this server rack, and at the very top are two Dell R230 servers. I got these for £65 on eBay with no RAM and no storage, but they had a Xeon E5 1230V6, I think it was, 4 cores and 8 threads, which for what I'm doing with these is perfectly fine. I don't need anything more than that, and they've honestly been just so good. They're actually pretty quiet considering they're one new Dell Enterprise servers. They've got iDRAC. This one actually has iDRAC Enterprise. This one only has the normal iDRAC module, not Enterprise. But the fact it has it, fantastic. The top one's being used for AI, just so I could mess about with it. So it's got 32 gigs. Well, both of them have 32 gigs of RAM, but this one also has a Tesla P4 in it, so that I could use Ollama with some different models and try it out and see if I liked it or not. And then Open Web UI just running in a Docker container so I can access it from my PC. This one isn't anything special, if I'm honest. That's all it really does. This one, at the bottom, does a lot more than that. This is my hypervisor. So this is running Proxmox. It's also got, like I said, it's got 32 gigs of RAM, but it's also got two 128 gig boot drives that are mirrored just because, you know, redundancy, and then two 1 terabyte drives that I recently put in because I had 500 gigs in here before they were filled up. These are also mirrored in a ZFS RAID configuration, and I haven't had any problems. In terms of the VMs I'm running in here, it's got, I think, 8 virtual machines, or 6 that are always running, and then some LXC containers for some of the lighter weight stuff. I've got things like Home Assistant, Docker, Uptime Kuma as well, which kind of doesn't make sense on here. I should really have it on a Pi, but whatever. Uptime Kuma is on here. Then I've also got my jump box so that I can access all my servers from just a single remote machine. And it also has some other stuff that I can't remember. Oh, it's got Tailscale, which I use for my VPN, but I can't remember anything else off the top of my head, so I'll just have it on the screen here, I guess. Not all the RAM's being used up, which is nice. I still have quite a bit of headroom, so if I wanted to try new VMs out or try new things out, I easily can. And everything from this is actually backed up nightly to my NAS, which is right underneath. This has two 6 terabyte hard drives, which are mirrored, and then that pool actually has two 256 gig SSDs used as a cache. I know I probably could have just used one and then had the other one be something else in the RAID array, but I wanted them mirrored. The hard drives are also mirrored. They're both sat there and there. But this thing has been an absolute trooper for me. I was running just two 2 terabyte SSDs in here before. They're still there, but I needed to upgrade the storage because I had about 30 gigs left. Put in a HBA, put in the drives, everything's been working fabulously. And this server is also running an Intel i5 9400F. 9500T, I think. And that thing is super power efficient. It's got 32 gigs of RAM, that CPU. It's just got like some old motherboard that I got from a friend, and it's got a old Be Quiet PSU as well. You might notice there's a bit of a gap. I don't have the actual rails for this, and I got like these universal ones, but I don't know if you can see that very well. You can see it a little bit. There's a bit of overhang, so I couldn't actually get this in with the rails in the correct position, so I just moved them up like a third of a U, which wasn't great because I've got rack studs and it kind of doesn't fit properly. Then up here, I have my TP-Link router. This is just used for wireless connectivity to my phones, and that box there for light control, because these are WLED. Really good, really cheap. I like them a lot. My brother went with Philips Hue lights in his room, but I thought they were just a bit too expensive, and I wanted to find a cheaper solution. WLED was exactly that solution, and I've just got like the cheap light strip rolls from AliExpress, and it honestly looks really good for the price. For any other devices, I have Zigbee connectivity going to Home Assistant as well. The devices connected to my Zigbee network are my lights. They have switches that are Zigbee enabled. The actual light bulbs aren't. I have a motion sensor and I also have a temperature and humidity sensor. And then I have buttons to control them around my room. So I have the four at my desk and I also have some by my bed. I've also got a Home Assistant dashboard on this tablet. It was just an old tablet I had lying around, wasn't doing much. So I thought, well, I'll turn it into a Home Assistant dashboard, and it allows me to see all of this. Up here, oh, this is my bin by the way. Up here is my 3D printer. This is an Ender 3 V2 that I've modified with a different hot end, added a second Z-axis motor, gave it those things, and Emrisco C firmware, so it's really customizable. And I did that when I had to swap the hot end to the Sprite extruder hot end, and also replaced the pulley mechanism because it was plastic and it was literally breaking. So I was like, I'll get a metal one, and that's what I've been using since. The way I control it is not with SD card, but with USB, with a Octoprint server here running on another Pi 02, I think. It actually works pretty well. I used to use a Banana Pi to control the server. It was a pain in the literally every time I would print, it would just error. So I was like, I'm just gonna get this, and it has been rock solid since.